could do this. We could do this whole thing now, where you could introduce me for the show. I need to like write down like what the script would say. Be like, you're a host of the Still Good Hour.
I can do that. Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, live from Fly the W Studios in Greenville, South Carolina, the Giving Day guy, Chris Scrub. Hey!
Let's go indeed. Welcome back to the Fly the W studio here in downtown Greenville, South Carolina. My name is Chris Strub, and you are watching episode 7 of the Social Good Hour. Coming up this hour, we've got a thrilling interview with my old buddy, Jen Hoverstad. Let's bring Jen on the screen real quick. Jen, hello, hello, hello. There she is, I promise. She's hanging out. She's ready to go. But first, before we get to Jen, we've got a lot of fun stuff to cover. First and foremost, we are going to introduce you guys. We use the power of Restream.io to bring your comments on the screen. So when I turn on our beta chat overlay, I can already see that we've straightened out our YouTube situation from last week. We've got our comments on YouTube working. So if you are watching on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, or on Twitch, you can comment, you can say hello, just like Mark is saying hi to Jen. And my buddy Dan Gingiss is watching live from Chicago. He says Papa Strub rocks it. That's right. Yes, he does. If you're familiar with the show, awesome. Then you know what's to come. If not, let's give you the quick rundown. We're going to start our show today with a quick edition of Tell Me Something Good. So as I read through the rest of this rundown, I want you to think in your mind, what is good going on in your life today? What is good going on? And we are together going to share some good news with one another that I will read out to you. I've got a great Monday motivator for you that you can check out on social media. Got a trivia question for you, so get those typing fingers ready. You can win a copy of 50 States, 100 Days, the book. We'll have a quick word from our sponsor, Restream. I got the shirt on today. There you go, Restream.io. Thank you to our buddies at Restream. And then, of course, we'll bring on Jennifer Hoverstad of the K Yao Fund. She is our main event today. We'll finish off the show with the closing thoughts as always. So, reminder, you can support the show. You can hit that subscribe button here on YouTube, hit the like button, turn the bell on. You can retweet my tweet at Chris Strub on Twitter. You can tag Restream and let them know that you're a fan of the show, watching every week. You can add me on LinkedIn and you can share to your Instagram story, as I think Jen Hoverstad might be doing right now. I can see her in the green room. She's nodding. She's over there on Instagram for sure. So get those typing fingers ready. I can see all of your comments. And we are going to put, instead of 5 minutes on the clock this week, because we've got a wonderful guest, we are going to put 3 minutes on the clock for this week's edition of Tell Me Something Good. That's not to say that there's less good things going on, but we're going to fast forward here just so we make sure we get all kinds of time for Mrs. Hoverstad, who is waiting from Raleigh, North Carolina in the wings. What's going on in your lives, guys? Let me know. Tell me something good. It is time for Tell Me Something Good. This is our weekly opening segment. I've got some good news, which we'll talk about a little bit more at the end of the show. Spoiler alert. This Wednesday is my first giving day of 2021. I'll be driving up the highway, weaving through North Carolina a little bit, Jen, and then up into Virginia, up to Roanoke for RV Gives, which is Wednesday, March 10th. It is the 6th annual RV Gives, and there's going to be all sorts of good things going on. They're looking to raise $900,000 in one day during RV Gives 2021. Of course, this is your 3 minutes, guys, that you can tell me something good and we will read off your comments. Mark, Dan Gingiss is jumping in here. Dan's got something great to say. He says he got to review the interior proof of his new book, which really made it feel real. That is awesome. And Dan's book, of course, is due out September 14th. Dan, can't wait to check it out. Dan's first book was awesome. Should have had Dan's book handy here. Need like additional side props in addition to my own books here on the stool. By the way, I actually ordered a table here, so I don't have to keep bending over. So in future editions, when you see me just reaching here, again, as I told Jen before the show started, each week we're getting a little tiny bit better. Each week there's something that we can improve as we're going along. Dan, I also saw that our Cubs are at last check 4-1 in spring training, and additional good news about those Chicago Cubs, who of course you can see my Cubs calendar here. I actually did remember to flip it to March this week. That's Chris Bryant right there, former Rookie of the Year, MVP. Chicago Cubs will be allowing to start the season 20% attendance to start the year. Thank you, Mayor Lori Lightfoot. Mark Mason says, Solar Biz is rocking, and just got the word I'm about to do some part-time bartender work with a high-end Spanish restaurant in downtown Cincy called Mitas. Awesome. That's super cool. I love part-time bartender work. I bartended a wedding once, which was a story in and of itself. We could do a whole show on how that came to be. Probably wasn't the best bartending service the crowd could have ever hoped for. But hey, we did it. You do it for the experience, you know? Good times. Last 10 seconds. If you got anything else good to squeeze in there, this is your moment. And again, we'll see you back here next Monday. If you missed Tell Me Something Good, we'll read off your comments during Tell Me Something Good. Episode 8. I always like to foreshadow here at this point of the show. Our guest for next week, episode 8, is Julia Campbell of JC Social Marketing. She's up in Massachusetts. So we're continuing our theme of awesome women guests here during Women's History Month. Julia Campbell is one of the brightest, let's just say it, the brightest nonprofit social media marketer in the country. All right, let's play a little 50 States, 100 Days trivia. Jen, I'm going to deem you eligible for this too, so you can jump in the comments if you know the answer, just so we can get Jen onto the screen here as quickly as possible. As always, I'm going to read the question out loud and then put it on the screen, and you are playing for a signed copy of 50 States, 100 Days, the book. Here's the question. RTMP is a protocol for streaming video and audio over the internet. But what the heck does RTMP stand for? I need a little non-copyrighted Jeopardy music. We'll talk about the non-copyrighted stuff with our lawyer guest in a few minutes as well. RTMP is a protocol for streaming video and audio over the internet. But what the heck does RTMP stand for? I'll give you a hint. I already gave you 25% of the answer. Gave it away in the question. I always screw up if it's RMTP or RTMP, but it is in fact RTMP. Jen, any idea? I wonder if Jen knows it. Jen is like, ooh. Jen is like, uh-oh, I should have known. I'm just kidding, Jen. Who's got it? Who's got it? We'll give you another 30 seconds here. Let's put 30 seconds on the clock. And if we don't get an answer, I'll just give the answer away here. Now, if you're interested in learning more about how you can use RTMP, this would be a great moment to talk about our show sponsor. Get out of the way of the microphone. It's Restream. So of course, using Restream, you can use RTMP to broadcast your live stream to multiple destinations like Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Twitch, and actually more than 30 other destinations. Do I still have that up here? Yeah, there you go. Restream actually allows you to stream live to 30 plus social platforms at once. The way you can do it is through RTMP, and nobody got the answer today, so that means I don't have to go to the post office tomorrow to sign his book. But the answer, of course, is real-time messaging protocol. And you know what, Mark? Mark was just behind there. I'm going to give it to you, Mark. Congratulations. This copy of 50 States, 100 Days shall be yours. And as we say every week, you can get your copy of the book by emailing me, chrisstrub@gmail.com. Now, how can you use RTMP to create a great live streamed show? Mark says he looked it up. Shh, it's okay. That's fine. No worries. We're all friends here, Mark. Now, how, of course, can you use RTMP to create a great show? Well, you can use a streaming service like Restream. In fact, I'm looking here at my screen. There's a beta button here that allows me, it's actually an RTMP button that allows me to connect Zoom, OBS, vMix, etc. I don't want to click the button because I don't want to break the broadcast. I should have clicked it before the show started. But I do have a little bit of information for you from our friends at Restream before we bring on Mrs. Hoverstad. Where is my commercial? The fun part of producing your own show. Where is the file? Here it comes, I promise. That's right. You can get your free trial of Restream right there across my face there. Boom. Restream.teamstrub.com is where you can go to sign up for your free trial of Restream. I will tell you in all honesty, because we're friends here, that if you sign up for your trial of Restream, it is super helpful to me. It's super helpful to the show. So again, you can sign up for your free trial of Restream. It's restream.teamstrub.com. And they're the ones that power the show. They're the ones that make the show a reality. So thank you again to our friends at Restream. We've actually got a little like staff, not staff is the wrong word for it, but like a partner call tomorrow, which will be interesting. I get to meet some of the other Restream creators. So looking forward to that. Thank you to our friends at Restream. Now, two more quick housekeeping items before we bring Jennifer on. If you liked watching that introduction with my dad, you can actually record your own introduction to an episode of the show. Just go to intro.teamstrub.com, and you can submit your own quick little video there. The instructions are all there. And if you want to be a guest on the show, you can go to guest.teamstrub.com, just like Jennifer Hoverstad did. Quick little easy form to fill out. And we are booking guests into April and hopefully beyond if we can keep the show going, which here's how we keep it going. That's the URL to make sure that we continue to have a show. Let's bring you guys back on the screen here. I noticed that Chris Bryant, not this Chris Bryant. I figured you'd smile, Chris, that there is actually a poster of Chris Bryant on my wall now for the remainder of Women's History Month here. Yes, Restream is the sponsor. And he says, he was on a client call here now. The party can start. Without further ado, let's bring our wonderful guest on the screen as I read her introduction. Her name is Jen Hoverstad. I had the maximize button on. Restream Geek Talk. Jennifer Hoverstad was diagnosed with an aggressive stage 3 breast cancer at only 34 years old in March 2018. But she immediately took her story to social media for a transparent look at what it's like to face cancer as both a young professional and mom to 2 toddlers. They're not going to be toddling for long, Jen. You better enjoy that toddling while you can. She's become known for using social media as a tool for transparency and encouragement. And actually, I'm going to play, because our little clip here is so relevant to that, I'm going to play a quick clip here, and then we'll finish Jen's introduction here.
What would it look like for the person who's spending at least 10% of their day to log on, feeling lonely when they log in, but coming to a place where they find community and acceptance and encouragement? What if 10% of their day became the most uplifting part of their day because they signed online? What if, by sharing your own reality, by sharing your story, you change someone's life simply because you chose to have a positive effect on their character, their development, their behavior? How then might the world look different?
That woman has since connected with the K-Yao Cancer Fund, a national nonprofit that grants money to life-saving cancer research for all types of cancer that affect women and provides women with access to quality health care. After volunteering with the fund for 18 months, Jen joined the team full-time in March 2020. Ladies and gentlemen, Jen Hoverstad. Jennifer, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chris. It is so great to be here. And to our live streaming relationship goes way, way back. And so it is just an honor to be here on your show. And thank you for featuring such incredible female voices throughout the month of March. I'm really excited to continue to follow your lineup this month.
Jen, it is absolutely my pleasure. My new phone has been on fire today because your fan club just keeps lighting up my notifications with tweets saying just how happy they are that you are on the show. So shout out to all of our intersectional friends and fans around the country, the Nick Rishwains of the world. Maybe he'll jump in the comments here.
Yes, and Mark Mason. Mark, it's good to see you here in the comments again today. Absolutely.
Yes, Mark, welcome back. Jen, we try really hard to build a great community here on the Social Good Hour. I'm very, very proud to be able to say that. And I'm very, very proud to call you a friend and a part of my community. You and I go back, as you mentioned, a number of years. You and your friend Mitch Jackson, who unfortunately couldn't make it right now live, but I'm sure he's watching on replay. You guys were among the very first to actually interview me on the show.live. I think it was like 5 years ago. And it's just incredible. We were talking about it before the show to look at sort of how far we've come in our live streaming journeys.
Absolutely. It's really wild when you think about it. And so Mitch and I, we met on Blab. I mean, same with you, Chris. We met on Blab, this live streaming, and basically, essentially the Clubhouse before its time, so to speak, using live video. And that's where Mitch had this great idea to start a live streaming show. And in my mind, I was like, I don't even really know what this looks like. Mitch is always ahead of his time in terms of how his mind works. But I signed on to co-host with him, and we had an incredible time interviewing you at the time. Chris, you were the crazy guy that had visited all 50 states in his car. And, it's just awesome to be able to use a social platform. Yes, Dan, I miss Blab too, and Mitch is awesome. I think it's just really cool. It goes to show that it is never too early to be an early adopter. And when people, that's, part of my TED Talk is people who poo-poo social media, who are like, oh, we don't need social media, it's only bad. There is so much good that comes from interactions on social media. You just have to be intentional about it. And great relationships like this just keep going when you meet online and flourish together.
And we've got so much to cover here. I mean, seriously, I'm so grateful again, but I want to start by rolling it back a little bit around that time frame and even before you and I met. I want to talk about your journey to get to this position with the K-Yao Fund, and we'll talk about your cancer diagnosis and stuff as well. But before your diagnosis, you seem to have a sort of a diagonal path, a career path, trying a lot of different things, trying to figure out exactly where you might want to end up long term. A big part of that journey was your relationship with sports. And I think that's one big reason that we connected pretty well. You worked with NC State, the Hurricanes during a Stanley Cup season, the University of Tennessee, all over the place. And then, of course, you've been involved with your alma mater, NC State. This past weekend, the tournament was up there in the Triangle. So is this finally the year for the Wolfpack
Absolutely.
to climb past the Sweet 16?
That is, yes, I believe that they can do it. Such a tremendous team, and it's a lot of fun to watch them and to pull for them. And I am very hopeful. Last year we thought it, and then everything got shut down right after they won the ACC championship last year. So they've done it again, and I'm confident they're going all the way to the top.
So I want to ask you about that triangular, no pun intended, journey where you're kind of shifting left and right. Like, talk about the emotions of not really necessarily being sure, I would say, kind of what you wanted to do sort of with your adult life, if that makes sense. Would you say that that's accurate?
Yeah, it's funny. I actually spoke to a high school class this morning, a group of juniors who are, getting ready to evolve into their next phase of life, and just kind of reflecting on where I was at that time. When I look back, and I actually recently came across my transcripts stored on my computer, I was just taking a look at them, and I realized that the things I enjoyed most were the classes I made the best grades in. Maybe, I don't know if they were easy or not. They were easy for me, and I enjoyed doing it. The classes I didn't enjoy, and the topics that I still don't really enjoy talking about, I didn't do very well in. So, looking back, I think I didn't realize at the time was just to double down on what you enjoy and what you're good at. The world will tell you a lot of things to be. And so I think, for me, while I did have about 6 years in sports, working mostly at the collegiate level, and then I went to law school thinking I would be an agent. Well, I went to law school in 2008, and for those of you familiar with that year, it is a pretty big year in our economic history. And in order for me to be an agent, in order for me to find those internships, I was going to have to chase the job around the country, and it just was not something I was interested in doing. My husband and I had just gotten married in 2008. It was not something he was interested in doing. And so it kind of made me pause and say, okay, well, what am I going to do? And, certainly in law school, I think law schools have gotten much better about this. Certainly my law school has at Elon Law. But they really gear you towards being a trial attorney. That's why most people go to law school, and that's great. But that I knew I didn't want to do that. However, because I didn't know what else was really out there, I jumped into litigation, realized in the first year it wasn't going to be my thing. And so while a lot of people discover themselves in college or maybe grad school, for me, I discovered myself the first couple of years out of law school. And my undergrad had been in marketing. And then when I had this law degree on top of it, I just wasn't exactly sure what to do. So I'm very fortunate that a year into my legal career after litigating, I came across and connected with a Chick-fil-A owner operator here in the Raleigh area. And that job really changed the trajectory of my career. What I realized is that I'm a relationship person. I'm a creative, and I happen to have a law degree, so I can think analytically, and that combination is very unlike most attorneys. And so, in order to move forward in my career, I was going to have to do it in a way that looked very different from other attorneys. And it took me a little while to accept that, because most of the time my title in a job is not lawyer, it's not attorney. I am the director of marketing and engagement at the K.L. Cancer Fund, and I'm so proud of that. And a lot of people ask me, so they're like, so you're not an attorney anymore? And actually, I still am licensed. I still think like an attorney. I just get to have a really fun job of doing creative things that most attorneys don't get to do on a day-to-day basis. So when I connect all the dots, which I have spent a lot of time thinking about and doing, what my career really shows is that I'm a connector. I enjoy interacting and connecting with people, and I enjoy finding creative ways to solve problems. And fortunately for me in the marketing world, live streaming and social media has been a great outlet to solve problems I've come across.
So Dan Genghis says he totally agrees with you. That's why he majored in psych and communications, just like the topics.
Yeah.
Had no idea that they would add up to marketing. You know, one reason why I think I resonate so deeply with this portion of your story too, Jen, is I come from the same cloth. I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And then of course this social media wave, we'll take this path first, and then I've got another branch of the tree to go down. But social media and the evolution of the industry kind of pushed both of us in a certain direction. So would you say that skill set that you developed really prepared you well for this sort of live streaming revolution? And then part two of answer that first. I have part two to that question as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, and gosh, Dan, what a great example. When people are like, oh, I want to major in psychology. I've had people say, I majored in psychology. Should I go to law school? Anytime you have studied people and you are going into a role where you have to connect and engage with people, psychology is always great. I probably wish I had more of it. But yes, to your point, with the legal aspect of what I do, and really what I enjoy is being in your seat, Chris. I love interviewing people and asking people questions. And obviously, like that, I took classes for that in law school on how to ask people questions. So it has really served me well in a very unique way to have that skill set and that background. I also I used to do some consulting work, and would have to remind clients like, hey, is that licensed? Is it trademarked? Like, are we actually allowed to use what we're about to use? It's those kinds of questions that the average person, which nothing negative about that, but the person who doesn't have to think like that, they typically don't think about. So it's always great to have a legal mind in your corner, whether that's a formal legal advisor or just a good friend who's going to set you straight on the right path.
So quick reminder, if you have questions for Jen, please throw them in the comments. I always prioritize your questions over my own questions, but I do want to follow up on that question, Jen, and ask you this. You've got a unique perspective from the legal side of things. But Dan is another good example. We've worked together actually at a Fortune 60 company where a lot of these bigger companies think that the legal aspects of live streaming are hampering them from actually creating content. So not speaking officially as a lawyer, I'm not asking your official legal advice, of course. You always got to put the asterisk. But broadly speaking, would you say that these obstacles that companies think exist are as majestic as they might make them out to be?
You know, it really depends. The thing about live streaming is that whatever goes out there, it's very hard to take back when it's live. And like you see with most major companies, even posting on social media, you have to climb some kind of approval ladder. Now, I am a big fan of empowering your team and your employees, but I also understand that for purposes of live streaming, for example, you can't necessarily just go online as an employee and a representative of a very large company and just say whatever you want to. Most of the time, it does need to be scripted for a variety of reasons. However, all that to say is that should not stop a company from live streaming. I think if anything, a great way for a large company to start live streaming is to do it internally. I mean, a show like this where you have your communications person or your HR person interviewing team members around the company and finding out what's going on in their lives, or maybe you are you're interviewing your customers or your clients and allowing your team to hear what customers and clients are saying as they interact with the company. Keep it internal. And then once you build that framework, then take it externally. But yeah, I understand the concern. And as an attorney, it's a valid concern. But there are definitely ways to make it work for your company and especially to energize your team.
It's a brilliant tip. And Jen, in a moment, we're going to show an example of some of the live streaming that you've been doing in your new role with the KYAO Fund. I would say to add my 2 cents on this, having worked with the Fortune 60, the best tip that I would offer is, rather than trying to tell your team what they have to talk about, I found a lot of success in telling the team what they couldn't talk about, right? So if you know that something is out of bounds, for example, health-related personal information, something like that, logically that's something that you can't talk about. So instead of saying like, oh, make sure you focus just on this, and then that person or your team, your creative team, is trying to stay inside a circle, instead you lay out what you can't speak about and then let them paint around the lines, right?
Yeah.
So I loved using that approach, but a brilliant idea to use it internally. Jen?
And I think too, Chris, I mean, just to build on exactly what you said, always prepping a guest, right? I mean, like, you sent me this thorough, detailed email. I knew exactly what to expect. I knew exactly how the cadence of the show would go. And so whether you're doing this formally or informally, always making sure that both the host and the guest know exactly what's going on, having all the questions ready in advance, it really does help both parties, and it comes across better on camera.
Well, speaking of knowing what's to come, I'm wiggling through my questions here. I'm kind of zigzagging, but
that's great.
Let's pivot here, because this makes sense at this juncture of the show. We do a weekly recurring segment called I See That IG, where I'm going to post on the screen a picture from your Instagram. You don't know what's to come. And I'm going to ask you to tell the backstory behind it. So Jen Hoverstad, this is episode 7, I See That IG. How did this come to be?
I had a feeling this might come up at some point. So that is Mitch and I, the show.live with Gary Vaynerchuk. And, this is all Mitch's credit. Mitch had interviewed Gary before. And this is how easily accessible Gary is, and how much Gary respects Mitch and what Mitch does. But Mitch just reached back out to Gary's people and was like, hey, would you come on our show? And again, right, we were doing something ahead of its time. Gary loves when people are doing stuff ahead of its time. So he jumped in. This was way before the entire media conglomerate that Gary personally has now. And we had him on, and we had a great conversation talking about Gary's, what he was seeing in terms of the future of marketing and social media, and just really interacting and conversational. And I'll never forget, after that show, I sent our guest, just a quick thank you email, nothing fancy. And so I just sent him a quick email thanking him for being on the show, and he responded back. So when you listen to when Gary says I personally do these things, Gary personally does those things, and it's just absolutely wild. And that particular interview built a lot of respect for me to Gary, and I've loved continuing to follow what he's doing now. And I use a lot of his own advice in what I'm doing. I personally love the Gary V audio experience. That's the easiest way for me to listen to his content. But he is a tremendous marketing mind, and something everybody can learn from. But yeah, that was pretty amazing. I need to go back and watch that interview. I haven't watched it in a while. I'm curious to see what we were actually talking about. It'd be worth going back and hearing it. Yeah, Mark, you remember that episode? It was a big episode. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so great to see. And Gary really leads by example in different ways that creators can collaborate with one another. And Jen, this is the surprise clip that I'm going to play first. You're not going to believe this, and I didn't mention this in the pre-show, talking about preparation, but this clip that I'm going to play was actually 5 years ago today. This is from 5 years ago today.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to play, and I didn't realize this when I scheduled you on the show, but I'm going to leave you on screen so we can see your reaction.
Oh, great.
Let's get this. Let's go full screen here so we can see this live. Jen has no idea what's to come here.
I don't. So, I'm very excited. I like how the dates have lined up.
Well, good morning, y'all. Welcome to Raleigh, North Carolina. It's so nice to have you here this morning. That's not how I talk. My sister and I go back and forth with that Snapchat face all the time. It's just hilarious. But welcome to Raleigh. So glad to have you in this. If you're looking for Chris Strub, you can find him on my Snap account here, Hoverstad. Things you should know about me is that I love North Carolina beer, and so typically like to close out the day with a brew, and tonight's selection is Highland Brewing Company's Cold Mountain Winter Ale. Cheers. All right, you guys, I am signing off. Today has been awesome being part of Strub Swaps Snaps. Have a great night. Well, what a fun day, y'all. I hope to see you again soon. God willing and the creek don't rise. Good night.
So, Jen, you can't make this up. That was 5 years ago to the day today.
That's crazy.
And part of your Snapchat. So for those who don't know, Strub Snap Swaps was a project. It was a 50-day project that I did back in the spring of 2016. I will say, forget about all the live streaming that I've done. That one project introduced me to more people and built my personal social media audience more than everything else I've ever done combined. And during that project, I traded Snapchat accounts with 50 different people. Jen, I think, was episode 12 or 13, somewhere around there. And it was International Women's Day. And so part of the story that you created on my Snapchat was about International Women's Day. And I was like, wait a second. That's crazy. That's today.
So we just need to mark this down our calendar, and we need to collaborate on this every year. I love this.
Every 5 years, we'll come back. I'll play that clip again. Neither one of us will remember it. We'll both be like, "Oh yeah,
that's awesome." Right. That's amazing. I definitely remember doing that Strub Swap Snap. So, oh, cool, Chris, you're familiar with Raleigh. I love it. Yes, Morning Times is a great spot. And Mark remembers the Beer Blab episode. So I also had an evening beer chat show called Untapped and Unfiltered with a couple of great people on Blab. And we would just sit around and talk about beer and drink beer. And it was great. So
I think these shows and the fact that we all know each other from different parts of the country is evidentiary that I like to say that the world, and particularly this country, is much smaller than we think.
Yes.
I mean, again, you and I were just kind of up the road from each other, but I mean, it's really a tight-knit community that we live in and work in. And it's pretty special to see how live streaming in particular has been able to sort of bring us and keep us together over the years. So Jen, in the spirit of it being International Women's Day, I want to ask you, who are some women that you look up to and who inspires you, this Women's History Month?
Gosh, it's such a good question. I've been so fortunate to be surrounded just really, I would say, by incredible women in my life. I have a core group of friends who truly helped me get through cancer treatment. And it was at that point in life where when I knew that a diagnosis was coming down the line, I thought about, it's probably about 10 women. Certainly my sister included in that, who I would consider my best friend and my most honest advisor of anyone in my life. But I sent these women an email and just said, hey, I'm expecting a cancer diagnosis. This is crazy. Here's how you can help. I'll keep you updated. And it was at that time I realized wow, okay, I was able to pinpoint people who are going to be most helpful and most trusted by me right now in a very difficult part of my life. And that was pretty incredible. In terms of other women that I look up to, believe it or not, and it blows my mind, but working at the KL Cancer Fund, I have the honor. So for those of you not familiar with Coach KL, she was the legendary women's basketball coach at NC State. She passed away after her fourth bout of cancer. She had metastatic breast cancer when she passed away in 2009. But prior to that, she started the KL Cancer Fund in order to fund cancer research and to provide women access to quality cancer care. And her team, the team at the KL Cancer Fund now, all of them used to work with Coach Yao, with the exception of me. So her spirit is continually invoked in terms of what we are talking about, what we are doing as a team. It is often our CEO, who was her assistant coach for 15 years, will say, gosh, what would Coach Yao tell us right now? And I love that, because it's like, here is this woman who just has this legendary aspect to her. And her life, even though basketball was what she did, her life had so much broader meaning and inspiration than just basketball. Basketball was just the tool to get there. So her spirit, her tenacity, her life is also very inspiring and encouraging and motivating. And the people I work with bring that into the workplace every single day. And then also, I would say, like, my dream conversation would be with Michelle Obama. I just, there is so much about her as a person. And I loved her book, Becoming. It was so inspiring just to see, like, we put a lot of people up on pedestals because they reach a level of notoriety, and her life growing up, her, obviously going to law school really resonates with me. There's just so much to what she has accomplished as a person in her own right. And then to be a mom on this giant center stage, there would just be so many questions I want to ask her and find out all these things that I can take away outside of what I read in her book. So, when I really think about it, my friends, my sister and my mom, they're number one. And then thinking about Coach Yao, what she went through and what she's done for women like me who've gone through cancer. And then Michelle Obama is that dream dinner date for me.
Jen, I love the way you answer that question. I want to pivot into what I think is going to be the deepest question I'll ask you today. Because I've been meaning to ask you this for even before I knew you were going to be on the show. You talked about, again, the accomplishments of both Kay Yao and of someone like Michelle Obama. And I sort of intentionally tried to open the show speaking about many of your accomplishments, right? And the different things that you've done over the years. And we've got more to talk about. But when you were diagnosed with cancer back in 2018, first of all, talk about the range of emotions that sort of strikes you and sort of the sequencing of that, sort of the timing of the variety of emotions that I'm sure that you felt. But also, do you feel like that diagnosis, and of course now your journey to survive and help other women in this position now, does that kind of define who Jen Hoverstad is now and sort of your legacy? And do you feel that's the case with others who have gone through similar diagnoses?
That's such a good question. I think to answer the first part of that in terms of how I felt when I was diagnosed, for people that didn't know me then, I had just had my second daughter. It was 2018. She was getting ready to turn 1 in April. In January of that year, I had my annual physical. Everything looked good. The blood work was fine. I felt good. I mean, I was tired, right? But what parent with a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old isn't tired? And so when I was diagnosed, it really caught me off guard. I found my tumor myself with a self-exam on a Sunday. My tumor was 6 centimeters and it felt like a walnut. So like, if you can imagine pressing anywhere in your skin and feeling a walnut, that's not supposed to be there. So the surprise of it was really probably what was most overwhelming. And then of course it comes with all of these questions. It comes with okay, well, cancer, that means you're going to die. Like that's immediately where your mind goes for anyone who's diagnosed, even though the doctors were saying okay, let's get all these answers before we make any assumptions. Let's figure out what's going on, and then we'll talk more about prognosis. So for me, going down that path, you come face to face with your mortality, which I'd never done before. And then when we knew what we were actually dealing with, which was the stage 3 HER2 positive breast cancer, I knew I was going to have to do the full treatment of care, which meant chemo, surgery, radiation. Once I had that checklist, I actually was like, okay, like let's tackle it. Let's take it on. Although I was never an expert athlete in the fields that I worked in, I saw so many people use that mentality, and this was my opportunity, right? Just to hunker down and focus and like plow through it. And so that's how I chose to approach cancer. But I did to the second part of your question, the idea of legacy. You know, I do feel now like this is my calling. The fact that you know, I work for the KL Cancer Fund. I get to help and connect with women who are in the same shoes I was in 2018. Really, it's an honor. And I tell our team this all the time, but working at the fund, raising money for cancer research, it's selfish. You know, it truly benefits women like me. It truly benefits my girls. I have 2 daughters. Like, everything you're doing benefits me and my friends and the friends I haven't made yet who are going to be diagnosed, because unfortunately, more than 900,000 women each year. So in this year, 2021, more than 900,000 women are going to be diagnosed with some type of cancer. And so that's what I'm working towards. How can we ensure we have the medications, the treatments, the cures, hopefully, as they continue to come down the pipe? How can we make sure that we're making the world a better place for them? So that's my primary goal. And then at home and in a family sense, when I was first diagnosed, the whole idea that I might die was like, well, how are my girls going to get to know me? Well, they would talk to my friends and family. They'd read my social media. And then I realized I wasn't doing anything intentional to leave behind my little crumbs. And so I decided to start journaling. So I keep a regular journal now of my thoughts, my ups and downs, my prayers, just like anything I feel like, okay, you know, at some point in time, and I personally enjoy going back and reading it, but if something were to happen to me, and this is great for anyone, right? We never know when something will happen to us. My girls can pick up these journals, they can read it, they can get to know their mom in her own handwriting and in her own words without having to rely on other people to give them that insight. So I became much more intentional about my legacy as well. And just realized, you know, none of us have a lot of time to waste while we're here. Like we got to find what our passion, what our purpose is, and get after it. Because I was diagnosed with cancer in a matter of 3 days from finding my tumor. And you never know what's going to happen in a short period of time.
Jen, thank you for sharing that. I just wanted to say, I don't think that any bit, even a second of what you do is selfish, because what you have done has been so helpful to so many, of course, many people that I don't know and will never know. But my dad has been able to tune in here too. And my dad says that he felt the same way, both when he was diagnosed with his cancer, and my stepmom, Jean, who's no longer with us, was also diagnosed. And I wish you could have met Jean. She was a wonderful woman. But I just want to say thank you on behalf of everyone who's gone through something like this. I mean, thankfully it hasn't been me, at least yet, you know, but for the many, many out there who may not have a chance to tell you one-on-one,
thank you.
We're grateful for the work that you do and the work that everyone at the fund does. And I hadn't realized that, you know, everyone at the fund actually worked with Kay Yao. I did appreciate reading, you know, I know that you got your master's, or I don't know how law school works, portion of your master's at Elon as well. You know, so you've definitely got that connection, I'm sure, that she would have appreciated as well.
Yeah.
Jen, I'm sorry, I'm like getting emotional. So you talk for a minute.
Well, you know, Chris, I just love too how you also you talked about your stepmom. I love how you shared her story as well, and you know, it really is women like that. So yeah, so Chris, wow, thank you for sharing that. And yes, being proactive. I mean, there is so much to it, and really, I hate the fact that I even feel like this has to be what I do. Because I mean, it drives me crazy that we're so far in our medicine, but yet at the same time, cancer is smart. Cancer is so smart, and it evolves and it changes. And, I think fortunately we are getting to a point. I mean, I'm a great example. Had I been diagnosed with my type of cancer in 2001, there was a trial going on for one of the medications that I took. That's now a standard medication that saves my life. There was a trial going on then. So had I been diagnosed 20 years ago, likely wouldn't have been in the trial, likely would have been a death sentence. The rate and the prognosis for life after receiving a HER2 positive diagnosis, which HER2 is a protein that attaches to cancer tumors and makes it multiply very quickly. It was not good. And they were trying to find that medication, and finally they have, and they did. And so, I'm reminded every day that there was someone before me who just nonstop was preaching the power of research and how much it's needed, and how there is no end right now to research. We got to keep going. We got to keep finding answers to other types of cancers. We got to keep making sure that women who aren't insured or who are underinsured are getting access to screening. Because I believe I saw someone on here, and I know Chris said it as well, but talking about the importance of being proactive and being timely and taking care of your health. And it's making sure that all people are doing that, certainly. But for me, it's making sure that women have that access to care. So I just appreciate you giving me a platform to share that message, because it is a global issue. And so, yeah, Chris, right there, mortality rates are dropping year after year, still so much to do. And one of the things that I have learned since being in the breast cancer community specifically is that a lot of people hear breast cancer, and I even got this at one point in time where it's like, oh, you got the good kind of cancer. And there's no good kind of cancer, right? A cancer diagnosis is scary regardless of your outcome. But right now there is stage 4 metastatic breast cancer that is slowly being talked about more, but we really need to talk about it more. And what that means, obviously no one wants to hear stage 4 cancer with any type of cancer, but for breast cancer, it means it has metastasized to other parts of the body. And those women who are stage 4, first of all, you never know when it might become stage 4. There's no signs for it other than some symptoms you may or may not be feeling. But those women can never be cured of cancer. They can have a response to treatment, a really positive response to treatment. They can live for years on their medications, but they are truly dependent on research to make sure that when and if their tumor gets smart to outgrow the current medication they're on, they need that research to get another line of medication so they can continue to thrive and live a happy and healthy life. And it's those women who are always in the back of my mind as well, because the stage 4 cancer, that is the truly the smart kind of cancer that we have to continue to work to find a way to cure it, because otherwise those women, they're true cancer warriors, and they will continue to deal with that for years on end.
Jen, let's keep you in for one more quick question here. What have you got on the horizon from a marketing perspective going on? I know you just completed a big event last week. What's coming up next where someone who's watching or listening can continue to get on board and support? What's the best way for someone to do that?
Well, we do have a really exciting raffle going on right now. It ends on May 1st, and we're only selling 1,000 raffle tickets. We have a custom 2021 pink boat. It is a Savannah Boats brand boat. It is this beautiful KO Cancer Fund pink. It has our logo on it, special edition. It looks awesome. You'll need to pick it up in North Carolina if you win, but I feel like you could find a way to do that. Tickets are only $100 each. And like I said, we're only selling 1,000 of them. So that is the best way to get involved. But otherwise, if you know a woman who's been diagnosed with cancer, we have the Cancer Warrior Network, where any woman throughout the country can come and join our closed private Facebook group. And when it's safe to do so, we'll start meeting in person. But we have great events year round. Like you said, we just wrapped up our virtual celebration run walk. You can go back and watch our incredible interviews. We had some really neat stories being told. Shaquille O'Neal's mom was on talking about losing an adult child to cancer. We had LaChina Robinson and Debbie Antonelli, ESPN analysts, who came on to talk about their personal experiences with Coach Yao. We had women share their own experiences with cancer, and some of Coach Yao's former players came on and talked about what it was like to play for Coach Yao and the life lessons they learned from her. So that's all on our KL Cancer Fund YouTube channel. But definitely check out the website, join our newsletter. We send out a monthly newsletter so you always know what's going on and how to stay involved.
3 rapid fire questions. You just got to answer right on the spot because we're out of time. Ready?
All right.
Best craft brewery in the Triangle is?
I you know what? I'm going to go with Tarboro Brewing Company, just outside the Triangle, owned and operated by one of my best friends, Inez Ribistello. Tarboro is 1 hour outside, delightful, sits on the Tar River. You can spend the day there and just breathe in that Eastern North Carolina air. They are awesome.
Jen Hoverstad's go-to Chick-fil-A order is?
Right now, it is a number 2 spicy chicken sandwich, extra pickles, French fry, and a half and half unsweet tea with regular lemonade.
The 2021 Women's NCAA basketball champion will be?
Wolfpack. It's going to be my pack. I feel it.
I saved the easiest one for last. Jen Hoverstad, before we let you go, we got to play freeze frame. Freeze frame. Chris Bryan, I'm counting on you, buddy. We're going to pose for a picture. Do I do the Wolfpack sign? Is that it?
Let's do it.
How you do it?
Yes, there you go.
All right, 3, 2, 1. There's your freeze frame for Social Good Hour, episode 7. Jen Hoverstad, what a wonderful guest you've been. Thank you so much for taking a couple extra minutes here to wrap up our interview. Really appreciate you, and thank you for all of the great work that you do.
Thanks,
this has
Chris.
been awesome.
Thanks, everyone, for joining.
And we'll be in touch. Okay. Wow. It's 4:59, and that means I better hurry up with my closing thoughts because I always promise you guys I'm not going over 5 o'clock. So let's cut it down once again. Let's do a 90-second closing thoughts here. So many closing thoughts about that interview too. Jen Hoverstad is just a magnificent human being. Today's closing thoughts. Giving Day season is here. That's right. Giving Day season is here. We had Amplify Austin just a few days ago. We've got Giving Days happening all across the United States, different colleges, universities, communities. Of course, we're still about 8-9 months away from Giving Tuesday coming up at the very end of November this year. But it's Giving Day season. As I mentioned, I will be on the road to Roanoke, Virginia, first thing tomorrow morning. And you can follow my journeys on Twitter and Instagram at Chris Strub. Of course, no live streaming while driving Mitch Jackson, listening on replay. But you can follow that adventure up to Roanoke for hashtag RVGives. They'll be trying to raise $900,000. I will be in York, Pennsylvania for Give Local York on May 1st. May 7th. I'll be in Columbia, South Carolina for Midlands Gives on May 4th. We'll be live streaming with Give Local 757 on May 11th. I'll be working with New Hampshire Gives June 9th and 10th. So make sure that you're connected with me on Twitter and Instagram at Chris Strub. Again, you can also connect with the show. Make sure you support the show by doing all those things we talked about before. If you are curious about, and that's it for my closing thoughts today. If you are curious about the gear that I use to create an awesome show, you can go to strubstuff.com. Again, I want to thank our guest, Jen Hoverstad. She was absolutely magnificent today. And thank you to all of you who guys tune in week after week. Mark Mason, Charles Strub, that's Papa Strub. The website for Jen's raffle tickets. Jen, come back on for a second. Jen, what's the website?
Go to kow.com. So it's just kow.com, and it is in the header. You can see the boat link in the header of the website.
kow.com. Thank you, Jen. See you later. Bye. Donna says, great interview, so inspiring and well-articulated information. And my dad says he will listen into the replay later. That's all right, Papa Doc. We love you anyway. I know you got to work. Thanks for watching. We will see you again next week with our special guest, Julia Campbell, JC Social. She's the bomb. You're going to just love that episode. And until next time, my name is Chris Strub, the Giving Day guy, and I will see you real soon. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? Save it for last. the weekly popper challenge. Hey, it worked. We'll see you next week. Episode 8 with Julia Campbell, 4 p.m. Monday, March 15th. The Social Good Hour with Chris Strub features uplifting, inspiring, inspirational individuals from around the world using social media to make the world a better place. And Chris is looking for new guests for the rest of season 1. Visit the URL on the screen, guest.teamstrub.com, and fill out the form for yourself, for a coworker, for a colleague, or any individual you think would make a great guest for this season of the Social Good Hour with Chris Strub.